There's something strange about patterns. You don't see them while you're in them. You wake up each day thinking you're making new choices, building a new life, stepping into a new chapter. But somehow, the scenery doesn't change. The same kinds of people show up, the same arguments repeat, the same loneliness finds you, just in different rooms. For years, I thought this was simply life, that some of us were destined to live with a quiet ache, destined to keep running into walls we couldn't name. I didn't realize I was walking in circles, inside a map I didn't even know I'd been handed. But how do patterns begin? No one starts out thinking, I'm going to build my life on wounds. But when you grow up, where love is conditional, where silence feels safer than speaking, where peace is kept by walking on eggshells, you learn rules without anyone saying them out loud. I learned to read the atmosphere in a room before I even learned to read words. I learned my feelings could be too much, that my needs might be inconvenient, that my role was to adapt so others could stay comfortable. At first, it feels like this is just childhood, but childhood is where the blueprint is drawn. Without knowing, I carried those invisible instructions into every friendship, relationship, and job. I became the peacemaker, the over-deliverer, the one who didn't complain, the one who stayed. Here's the dangerous thing about patterns. They feel familiar. Even when they hurt, they feel like home. And without realizing it, you set yourself up for failure because your focus is set wrong. And the cost of living on repeat? Over the years, that blueprint cost me more than I can measure. I stayed in relationships that started in love but ended in control and manipulation, where my worth became a bargaining chip, where my voice was slowly dismantled. I made decisions from fear instead of clarity. I said yes when every part of me screamed no. I adapted to jobs that drained me, to friendships that only took, to family dynamics that replayed the same script I thought I'd escaped. The worst part? I didn't see it as a pattern. I saw it as me. If things fell apart, I believed it was because I wasn't enough, because I hadn't given enough, because I hadn't tried hard enough. That's how patterns trap us. They convince us the problem is who we are, not what we've learned to survive. So where can change begin? My breaking point wasn't one dramatic moment. It was an accumulation of small ones that became impossible to ignore. A slammed door, a sentence that cut too deep, a night alone where the silence felt suffocating, and the realization that my children were watching me repeat cycles I had sworn would end with me. Something in me finally said, no more. That's when I learned the truth. Change doesn't start when life gets easier. Change starts when the discomfort of staying the same becomes unbearable. From there, I began to see the pattern, and seeing it was like turning on a light in a dark room. Once the light is on, you can't go back to pretending it's not there. And the nervous system's role? Here's where science comes in. I discovered that my nervous system, this intricate God-designed network that processes every threat, safety cue, and emotional memory, had been trained by my past to live in constant alert. My body wasn't waiting for good things, it was bracing for impact. That's why even moments of peace felt foreign. Why I sabotaged healthy relationships, why rest made me anxious. I wasn't broken, I was conditioned. And conditioning can be changed. Through studying trauma psychology, attachment theory, somatics, and scripture, I learned healing isn't about forcing yourself into positivity. It's about teaching your body and mind a new way to live. And here's the perspective shift on healing I want you to take. For a long time, I thought healing meant erasing the past. If I prayed hard enough, worked hard enough, or moved on, the pain would vanish. But that's not how God works, and it's not how the human heart works either. God didn't meet me by erasing my history. He met me inside it. Through his word, I began to see the wilderness I'd been walking through wasn't punishment, it was preparation. The patterns I'd tried to outrun weren't just obstacles, they were invitations to see the truth. Scripture became a mirror. Verses like, "Be still and know that I am God," Psalm 46:10, stopped being just poetic. They became instructions. Stillness is not weakness, letting go of control is not surrender to chaos, it's surrender to a greater plan. And slowly I began to rebuild, not on fear, not on survival, but on a foundation of peace, clarity, and alignment with God's design for my life. This is where our work together begins, by seeing the patterns, naming them, understanding where they came from, not to stay there, but to choose differently. Because once you see the truth, you can never unsee it. And once you know you have a choice, you are no longer powerless.